Hello and welcome to the 164 Forever podcast for newcomers. We happen to be members of Overeaters Anonymous, and we basically study the big book and use it as a textbook for life. And so we get together periodically and discuss different topics. We have a website, which is 164forever.com. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got what are the other things we have? There's a WhatsApp group that we created. So if you're new and you want to get some information from us, you can join the WhatsApp group, and we're on Podbean, and all of those links are going to be in the description below this podcast. So just look down there. My name is Carol. I'm a compulsive eater. I live in Los Angeles. Let's say hello to our fellows. I have Rebecca A.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca A. from the UK. Really grateful to be here.
Rebecca A. from London in the UK. That's how I always hear your name. And Paul G.
Hi, I'm Paul G. and I'm in California, Orange County, Huntington Beach. Just think of Disneyland, and I'm not far from there. Happiest place on earth.
Wow. It is. And a great thrift shopping mecca. I enjoy going down there to thrift store shop. So last week we discussed step 4. And if you're interested in hearing that discussion, which I think is wonderful, don't you guys?
Absolutely.
Right. It was great. Well, we had fun talking about it. Hopefully it was helpful to some people, but you can listen to that on the Podbean channel or the YouTube channel. You just go back to the previous recording, the one you're not listening to right now. And this week we're going to progress through the steps. We're going to talk about step 5. So at this point, you've done an inventory, or we all did it as well. We all did our inventory, and step 5 takes this inventory a little further. We're now going to share our truth with another person. We're going to try to take what we believe is as truthful as we could possibly be with our sponsor at the time. And now we're going to let them hear it and possibly get a little input from them. Sometimes I know there's things that we think are terrible, and it's just a lot of us. So we get another voice in there, and some sponsors, I guess, some sponsors just listen and don't even give you any feedback. And some sponsors may have a little feedback. It's going to be different with each sponsor. But why don't we go ahead and have our fellows talk about it? Who wants to go first? Say me.
Yeah,
Rebecca? Me. Great.
Yeah, like in preparing for our discussion this week, I had a look in the big book, and the section that is around step 5 describes this as a life and death errand. Yeah, it is. It is, it says here that, if we don't do this, we will go back into the food. I will go back into the food if I don't share it with another person. It would be, the equivalent of, doing a big spring clean out and, filling the bags up with old coats and holy socks and things I don't want anymore, and packing the bags and sealing them and being like, right, I'm ready to take them out. And then I just leave them in the corridor. I just leave them there. I've packed them all up. I know what's in them. I know I don't need them anymore, and I just leave them in the corridor. We have to give it away. Here on page 72, it says, in actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. Many of us thought it necessary to go much further. We will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see good reasons why we should do so. The best reason first: if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. We're just not going to get over it. We have to admit it to ourselves, to God as we understand, and to someone else. We just need to air it to someone else. And it's hard to do that, but we all had to do it. And it was freeing. And like what we discussed in the last podcast, everyone's heard it all before. We all say similar things, so there's nothing to be afraid of in that respect. And the person that we've chosen to share it with, our sponsors in most cases, are someone at that stage who we trust, and they're a kind of closed mouth friend, as it says in the 12 and 12. So, you know, nobody's going to go blabbing. That's not the purpose about it. It's just for us to get free and to overcome our problems with food. And the thing that I found really useful in this step was actually afterwards, I took what it describes as a quiet hour. So yeah, just set a timer, kind of switched everything off, just sat quietly and just let the whole process of sharing my 4-step inventory just wash over me, and anything that came up, anything extra, any thoughts, just letting it come up. And it was really nice, and it was really powerful for me actually. And just to kind of articulate that it was done, it's done, and now move on. And yeah, after this, it's more and more action. So to take that moment to just kind of pause and be like, okay, I've shared things about myself that maybe I hadn't thought of before, maybe I hadn't shared with anyone else before, but that's done. And I was afraid, and I did it, and now I'm ready. Yeah, the quiet hour, I highly recommend it. Like, yeah, I highly recommend it. And that is all I have to share at the moment.
Great. Paul?
Wow. So, you know, there's so much to say about the 5th step, and it seems quite simple, you know, on its face, is that we just read our 4th step to somebody, right? But you know, at last we gathered, I had finished my 4th step, and you know, I thought I had really done a great job on all my resentments and fears, and you know, I thought I had done a pretty good dump, you know. But what I had no clue about was how I got the ball rolling. And one of the biggest things that I got in my 5th step was what I had done to get the ball rolling. What was my part in those resentments and those fears? And it was like opening up a new world for me. You know, the big book on page 73 says, more than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. Holy mackerel, is that true for me? He is very much the actor. To the outer world, he presents his stage character. Hi, I'm Paul. I'm always nice. I'm just such a great guy. You know, I don't do anything wrong. And if I did, I'd lie about it. Oh, yeah.
Man, I don't want to be on the other end of a feud with Paul.
This is the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it. And one of the big things that I got on my 5th step with my sponsor is he shared his experience. He helped me to see things that I couldn't see. I always knew that I wasn't enough. I always knew that I wasn't inadequate. What I didn't know was that that was a lie that I made up about myself, that was a dishonest picture of myself. I was lying to myself, I was lying to you, I was lying to my higher power. And that one central thing shows up in almost all of my 10 steps now. So that one thing was worth the price of admission for me. Whatever work that I did to list my resentments and my fears. So that was when I did it. And like Rebecca, you know, the other thing that I got is just give myself a freaking break for being a human being. You know, it's like we all make mistakes. And for some reason, I couldn't accept that I could fail and have it not mean that I'm a failure, that I could do something wrong, that I could lie and think, oh my gosh, I must be the only person that's ever told a lie at work, made a mistake, and then told a lie to cover it up. You know, I would have such intense shame about that. But that's what I did. You know, that's what my disease did, so that I could look good, you know, so that I could have a reputation that I'm going to look good. But I knew I didn't deserve it. I just knew I didn't deserve it. So, you know, the 5th step for me, that in the aftermath of it, these resentments and fears, somehow they were gone. almost all of them. There's some that I wanted to hold close to my chest and I didn't want to let go of the resentment. And those continue to show up in my 10 steps. But I just got such great information about who I was. And so much was revealed there and continues to be revealed in my 10 steps. And, there's a line I wrote down, direct comment and counsel. That's what I got from my sponsor, but I didn't walk away from it feeling like I needed to go take a shower, to get all the dirt off. I had let the dirt go in my 5th step. And the flip side of all of this is getting to do it as a sponsor, which is such an extraordinary gift. But we can talk about that later on. So I just am so grateful that I got to do this. I'm grateful that this work gives me a design for living that really works for me. So with that, I'll pass.
That's great. You guys first of all, let me just say, I'm a heathen. Everybody else in this room is a really nice person. Like, it's so funny when I hear you guys. Like, I had a friend visiting and we were talking about high school, and I was telling her how I had done the research. You could miss 18 days without your grade dropping. And so I missed 18 days. Like, I would always see what I could get away with. And she just looked at me in shock, like, what? Like, and then she was talking about building a shed in her backyard. And I go, well, why don't you do this? And she goes, well, then I'd need a permit. And I go, why would you get a permit? You just build it and then it's done. And she's just like, I have a completely, that's what and you guys are making me think of this in relation to step 5, because step 5 is really just our perception of the past right now. It's just a snapshot of our perception of things that have already happened right now, and that perception's going to change. That's why in the beginning I said, be as honest as you can with your sponsor right now. That's not permission to lie. It's just that's why we do step 10, because you're going to do this. And then a few months from now, you're going to have a different idea of what's right and wrong. And you're going to look back at your life and you're going to go, oh, I wasn't supposed to sneak into movies after the first movie and get a free movie. I'm supposed to make amends for that. And then you don't even feel like it. And then like months after that, you're like, you know what? I think I am going to make amends for that. That sounded so stupid at the time when someone suggested it, but I am. So honestly, it's just your perception. And again, I will turn to Joe McHugh's book, The Steps We Took, because he just says things for dummies like me. We human beings only have our perception of the truth. And that's what your sponsor is going to help you out with, is giving you a different perception of the truth, that maybe you're not the piece of shit that you think you are. Sorry for cursing, for anyone who doesn't like cursing. And we're going to get an outside viewpoint. And he kind of, in this book, kind of drives home, you're going to be honest with God, with yourself, and then with another person. And it doesn't have to be a sponsor. Like, the book was written, but the thing is, now the book is written for people who just got a book in the mail and had no one around them. So of course you can go to a rabbi, you can go to a pastor. It should be an uninterested party. It should not be somebody who's going to be offended and hurt at the things you're telling them. That's what's most important, which is why it's great to get someone in program. And now with Zoom, you're usually talking to someone not even in your state. So there's nothing to really for them to judge or for you to be ashamed of. You're probably not even going to see your sponsor. Most people don't even live near them now. And then the other thing Rebecca touched on is the life and death aspect. And it's funny because while you were talking, Rebecca, I'm thinking of the show. I am not going to say the name or the network it's on, because there's a lot of people that are probably watching it right now. It's very popular. But basically, the show is about changing people's lives. And then kind of in the end, you realize what she's trying to create is like a near-death experience, because people will get very clear and honest at a near-death experience. Like, oh, I hate my job. I want to quit. I want to go work on a taco truck. What? Did that come out of me? Like, you know what I mean? Like when you think you're about to die and you look back at your life and you're like, what could I change? I would have never sat at that shitty high-paying job. I would have just gone to work at Target and paid my bills and spent time with my kid, or, you know what I mean? So she creates this, and then people blurt out what they really want, thinking they're about to die. And then they can pursue that. And that's kind of, I think what Bill's getting at with this is, try to pretend you're about to die. Just say it. You have nothing to lose by just saying what you think your perception of the truth is and sharing it with another person. And the thing is, you don't have to follow through with anything right after. There's nothing you have to do. And like Paul said, I felt great afterwards. I felt elated, very light, very free. And then I guess my other advice would be just read it a steady clip. You don't have to apologize with your you know what I mean? Like when someone starts to read it and they're like, they can't even get it out. Like, it just takes so long. And that's just my sponsor note to somebody who's doing it. Just read. Nobody's here to judge you. You have nothing to be afraid of. Let's just get through it, because we can make it take forever, or you just smoothly read. Like, I think I just kind of almost went, I had a little acting training in high school and college. So I just kind of went into reading it like a script, pausing, okay, she'd say, okay. And I would just go on. Like I didn't, but I felt very nervous inside. I didn't want to read any of it. I thought I was a total piece of shit. And there were things I was like, I'm not going to talk about that. But then I ended up talking about them later. And the same with sponsees. There are people that don't put things down. And then you go, now go think about that and come back. And like, what, 2 out of 10 come back with like, okay, I thought of something. And you're like, good for you. And even if they don't say it then, in the days and the weeks, it's really about get a higher power, keep working it. If you have some deep, dark secret you're not ready to tell, don't let that stop you. Do the best you can. And just know if you connect with a higher power, that higher power is going to direct you when it's time to share that with somebody. If you can't do it right now, I guess I would just say, don't let it stop you from doing the steps. Cause I don't think I know it talks about being honest and stuff like that. You need to be honest with yourself and with God and create that relationship. And then God is going to help you get that out of you. Cause I know some people will be very afraid to tell me something, very afraid. And I'll just tell them, let's just keep talking. Let's try tomorrow or the next day. Like, see when the time is right. It doesn't have to be this second, but once you get on that path of trusting God and trusting your sponsor, you'll know when the time is right to just talk about it. Because honestly, those are always the things that it's like your perception is so much worse than whatever you think it is. And just getting a little input from another person is going to probably change your outlook of it. It's not going to be as bad as you think it is. And we all say we've heard everything but murder, right? I mean, not to make you feel bad if you're a murderer, but if you are, that's the one thing you're going to blow a sponsor's mind with. We're going to have to call other people to talk about that. Not to gossip, but I mean, like, what do I say? How do I help this person? But there's that too. I mean, there are people in 12-step programs who have done everything. And, we all need to get on and try to live the best lives we can, or else everything that happened in the past is in vain. And the only way to make all that stuff into something good is to share it with someone, let it go, and move on and help other people, which is like exactly what the steps are based on. So I kind of get now from that stupid TV show that what he's talking about is like a near-death experience. You want a life and death feeling about this. Like, pretend you're about to drop dead. What would you blurt out? What would you just blurt out if you thought you were going to die at 6 o'clock tonight? And that, I think, is the honesty they're kind of going for. I don't know. I feel like that was great. You guys hit on the two topics that I didn't even know I really, I think really encapsulate step 5. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. Like, Carol, you really hit the nail on the head there with this idea of, with the idea that's just come out of my mind, and I've completely blanked and forgotten what you said.
Perception, life or death experience, or perceptions.
Yeah, Carol, you really hit the nail on the head with that idea about a different perception, Yeah. Like, the fact is, when we come to this step, we've been coming from disease, and we've been in it however long we've been in. Some people say, I've been a compulsive overeater since I was 4, or since I was born, or, since Tuesday, however long, we've had one way of thinking and one way of seeing the world. We've had limited ideas. I think it's Chuck C. He, in the book A New Pair of Glasses, he talks about like this lighthouse, like you're in a lighthouse and you're looking through one window, but we need to kind of shift you to another. And there's so many, because a lighthouse is obviously round, so many different ways of seeing things. And, the title of the book, Putting on a New Pair of Glasses, is about a new perspective. And speaking to a sponsor, we get a different perspective on it. We get new glasses on it. Inviting our higher power into things, we get a different perspective again. And we build on that as we get more and more intuitive thoughts, which is what's going to happen as we carry on working the steps. When we speak to our fellows, we get different perspective. And it's not my limited thinking that kept me in the food. But yeah, you start off with just where you're at, and where we're at is coming from the disease. So we're as honest as we can be, but it might be a bit limited, and that's okay. And then as we do this work continually in 10 steps, the perspective changes and we get like more and more insights. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really into self in this way. Oh my gosh, I'm really manipulating in this. And I do it all the time. I didn't even realize, because my perception of myself is changing. And that's a gift. And it's a real living program that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Paul?
Yeah, I'm looking at page 75, and it says we pocket our pride and go to it, eliminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. And I recall after I had done my 5th step, and I was standing in the kitchen with my wife, and I just had the sense that there was nothing that was in between us. I wasn't protecting or defending myself from her. And, there also wasn't a 50-pound barrel between us, which was, that was a real plus too. But, it's that sense of just being at peace. And one of the things my sponsor, I probably said this last week, but my sponsor said to me when we were doing our 5th step, is that we're building a skill. We're building a skill. As Rebecca said, we're going to be using that in our 10 steps. And where my life has really opened up is in doing those 10 steps. So I got the start in the 4th step, and I probably would be the poster child on how to do the 4th step wrong, in terms of really seeing what my part, was in my character defects. But darn, do I really feel like my sponsor carried the day with my 5th step. And, the thing that for me to get, and I think I knew this, is that, a sponsor, whether you're their sponsor or whether they're your sponsor or not, whether they're in program or not, that's between the two of us. That's anonymity. There's confidentiality there. And to know that someone was just like me, when he would share his experience, and in this case, I gave it to my sponsor, and I got that I'm no worse than him. I'm just a human being. And this whole process for me is just embracing being a human. That the favorite thing he says to me, and I probably say it 5 times a day to other people in the program, is that we will never rise above our level of being humans. And for some reason, we all think we're subhuman, or that we're supposed to be angelic. And what I got in the 5th step is that I'm just a man trying to do my best. And sometimes it's not enough, and that's okay, And he pointed out, no, you're not out of balance. I was all concerned about my sex life. I'm not going to get into details, don't worry. But, he said,
you can call us later.
Yeah, I don't think you're out of balance. And I just went, whoo, dodged a bullet on that one. And, so many things in my 5th step just got me to see, I'm just a man among men, a human among human beings, and we're all just doing the best we can every day. So with that, I'll pass.
I love that. So, just another bozo on the bus, just like me.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And also it's our perceptions too. You know what I mean? Like, we always think things are such big deals, and usually they're not. Like, and I think I said it last week, it's like everybody's cheating on a partner. Almost everybody stole something. There's like almost nothing you can say. And sure, there's some things that are deeper and darker. Fine. You may not want to share that with your sponsor, share it with a pastor, share it with a therapist, share it with somebody, talk to somebody about it, but get some other perspective on it. Because I guess the point is that, whatever your perception of the situation, there's probably a little light that could be shed on it that might make things look a little different in the light of day.
And also we get things really off both ways. Sometimes we think nothing of something where it's like, oh, that's your ego again. It's like, oh, I never saw that. So sometimes we think massive things of kind of nothing, and sometimes we think nothing of massive things.
Exactly. Like there's stuff I never would have even put on my 4th step that now I would add to a 4th. So it's literally just your perception, and it's just not a big deal, because you're really just learning a formula that's going to help you as things are revealed to you, release the toxic, feelings that go along, guilt, shame, regret, remorse over things of the past that you can't change or control. So you let it go, you make it right the best you can, and you move on. And you just you say, that's enough. Whatever I did, that's enough. And God will tell you if there's something else to be done. It's just not, you're just a person getting through the day, another bozo on the bus, as many of our fellows like to say. So I guess that's all our time for today. I hope we shed some light on step 5 for somebody out there who might be afraid to be doing it, or who just has it, coming down the step, up the steps, down the steps, ahead on the step, a step in front of you somewhere. So you can subscribe to our podcast if you want to on Podbean or our YouTube channel. And you can also send us an email if you want to. It's 164forever@gmail.com. And then all that and the rest of the links will be in the description below. If you want more information, or you just want to find out about some great meetings that happen every week, join our WhatsApp group. The 3 of us post the meetings that we go to in there, and you're welcome to join us in those meetings, and also ask any questions in there. We'll be happy to help you get an answer. We don't know the answer to everything, but we'll help you find an answer the best that we can. So I want to thank Paul and Rebecca for showing up. And with that, I'll say have a great time, great week, month, whatever. It's going to be a couple of weeks probably before we talk to you again, but we'll be back with steps 6 and 7. I think we're going to do 6 and 7, and they go hand in hand. So in the next
thank you,
podcast.
CJ. Thank you so much. Great work.
You're welcome. I want to thank me too. Thanks, me. All right. Bye, guys.